Took the screen. Back to Boston. Mismatch against Aaliyah Gray, and she buried it. Biggest lead of the night. And it's taken away by who else? Mitchell. Lexi Hall buried it to beat the buzzer. The flourish at the end of the third quarter for Indiana in a game they have to win, and they're up 15.
The referees had no chance of deciding this one. After the chaos of Game 1's questionable whistles, the Indiana Fever came out in front of their home crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and delivered a statement win, dismantling the Atlanta Dream with a defensive clinic in Game 2 of the WNBA playoffs. This wasn't just any victory. It was their first playoff win in nearly a decade, with Caitlin Clark cheering from the sidelines. Missing 5 players, the odds were stacked against them, but instead of folding, the Fever proved they can rise above adversity. And when Aaliyah Boston addressed the media after the game, her words perfectly reflected the heartbeat of this squad. What she said summed up the fire, the fight, and the belief driving this team forward. If you're fired up too, drop a "Let's Go Fever" in the comments.
Game 3, baby, Game 3! See you in Atlanta. Not done yet.
One more.
Dubs in the chat, baby. Come on, come on.
Need that.
One more game, baby, one more game!
Fans didn't just show up to Game 2 expecting playoff intensity. They arrived carrying frustration. The bitter taste of Game 1 was still fresh, with whistles that felt lopsided and moments that seemed designed to push Indiana down. To many, it didn't feel like competition. It felt like a robbery. The atmosphere wasn't only about anger, it was disbelief. When players leave everything on the court only to feel like the officials shifted the balance, focus can shatter in an instant.
This one on Lexi Hall got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexi could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down, Lexi Hall's guarding her, Ryan goes behind her back, Lexi doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time, she has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexi played here.
And this is where things got even more compelling. Indiana wasn't just battling the controversy from Game 1, they were also missing 5 players. The pressure alone could have broken them before the opening tip. Head coach Stephanie White understood exactly how high the stakes were. Before the game, she pointed to what was lacking in that first matchup, saying, "You've got to play with desperation, and you've got to carry urgency every single moment." That wasn't empty coach talk, it was a direct challenge, a call for this team to dig deep and prove what they're really made of.
There's a certain desperation that has to come with how you play every possession. I didn't feel like in Game 1 we played with that desperate mentality that we needed, particularly when you look at 50-50 balls, when you look at how many times, we didn't get inside the three-point line for a defensive rebound and the ball hit the floor and they were able to get it. There's got to be a desperation that you play with and a sense of urgency that you play with at all times. We didn't have that consistently for 40 minutes in Game 1. I expect us to have it here tonight.
What Indiana delivered wasn't some casual shakeoff of misfortune. It was a full-on embrace of the pressure. They refused to break. Instead, they locked in and produced a performance that no box score, no whistle, and no outside influence could ever diminish.
Stephanie White wants to see her go downhill, be more aggressive offensively. This is a great matchup. Boston against Jones.
Just some fun matchup between two big posts with size, with good.
Right from the opening tip, the Fever set a tone that made the referees irrelevant. They struck first, defended with zero hesitation, and before Atlanta could even find their footing, Indiana had full command. For the first time since 2002, the Fever led from start to finish in a playoff game. No ties, no lead changes, just 40 minutes of total domination. Think about that. That's how you shut down all the noise from Game 1. You leave no cracks for controversy to creep back in.
Power Natasha for Indiana. Powers with the board, goes up, tough one, and got it!
It was Indiana's defense that completely flipped the game. Atlanta, a team built on outside shooting, couldn't even find room to breathe against the Fever's pressure. In the first half, the Dream managed just 1 of 10 from beyond the arc. By the final buzzer, things weren't much better. 5 of 19 from deep and under 40% from the field overall. Their rhythm was shattered, every possession forced and frantic. Indiana dictated the tempo from start to finish, leaving the officials with nothing to influence.
Great job! That was a masterclass on the defensive end of the game. Hell yeah, ladies, hell yeah!
It really was. It really was. I mean, I'm so proud of you. Stepped up to the challenge, back against the wall, and our back is against the wall every fucking game. Come on. But y'all, look, I'm proud of you. We ain't finished though, right? We ain't finished. KK, way to be ready. Yeah! The second half, your aggressiveness, it was a difference maker. What it opens up with the gravity that you create is huge for us. You gotta stay aggressive. Hell yeah,
The crowd wasn't just loud, they were electric. Gainbridge Fieldhouse felt alive. And right there on the bench was Caitlin Clark, standing, clapping, and pumping energy into the building like a sixth gear. Even though she couldn't take the floor, her presence tied the fans and the team together. When the final buzzer sounded, that win wasn't just about evening the series at 1 apiece. It was proof that Indiana could take control of their destiny instead of watching it slip away. Redemption after heartbreak. But the magic of this night wasn't about one star carrying the load. It was about everyone stepping up at the same time. For Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, and Aaliyah Boston, this wasn't just another matchup. It was their very first playoff game on Indiana's home floor, a milestone moment for a franchise that hadn't hosted postseason basketball since 2016. And yet, walking into Gainbridge came with crushing pressure. Caitlin Clark was ruled out for the season. Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, and Ari McDonald were all sidelined. 5 players gone before tip-off. A rotation stretched razor thin on the most important night of the year. The question hung over the court: who was going to step into that void?
They have allowed her in their half-court sets so far to just take open drive to the rim. There's the three.
And fans didn't appreciate how good Kelsey Mitchell is, and they're certainly getting an eyeful this year. Here she goes. She's guarded by Petty, takes it right to the basket and misses. It's a hit for Mitchell.
And the answer came from the player who has been the backbone of this franchise for years, Kelsey Mitchell. She didn't just put together a solid game, she owned the moment with a game-high 19 points. Mitchell knocked down 4 triples, each one a dagger that widened the gap and forced Atlanta into catch-up mode all night long. With Caitlin Clark's usual gravity missing, Mitchell had to manufacture her own shots and draw the defense with every possession, and she welcomed the challenge. This was her stage, her long-awaited playoff debut at home, and she made sure the fans inside Gainbridge had reason to erupt.
Kelsey, you've had a lot of moments with this franchise throughout the years. Where does leading them to a playoff win at home kind of rank among them?
Oh man, it takes a village. I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization. So I think it took a collective group effort to be able to be here. And I think that I think our first win here was big for us because we've been resilient throughout the course of the year, and it was just, I don't know, it felt really good to see ourselves on top and do something great for a change. When it comes to us being resilient, have to fight off a lot of ups and downs, backs and forth, and so it felt good for us to really, come out on top tonight.
Aaliyah Boston delivered the kind of steady dominance that makes her impossible to overlook in the paint. She dropped 15 points, hauled in rebounds, and dished out 3 assists, quietly filling the stat sheet while completely controlling the interior. Up against Atlanta's tough front court, Boston found ways to score inside and forced constant double teams, opening the floor for her teammates. Every possession in the post was a reminder. Indiana now has a true centerpiece, one that can't be bullied, not even under playoff pressure.
Stephanie White wants to see her go downhill, be more aggressive offensively. This is a great matchup. Boston against Jones.
Just a fun matchup between 2 big posts with size, with good anything.
Boston up, under, and in.
If toughness needed a representative for this Fever team, it was Natasha Howard. She put up 12 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, and brought the grit Indiana couldn't live without. Howard did the unglamorous work, battling in the paint on both ends, finding open lanes on offense, and delivering just enough scoring to keep the Fever firmly in command. It wasn't about flash, it was about relentlessness. And in a game where the roster was stretched thin, her impact was priceless.
Both teams around that 40% mark. They didn't hit that in game 1, and that's a good way to go for Natasha Howard. Gray goes down. What is she? Good patience by Howard. Mitchell bounce pass, Natasha Howard, and it rolls in.
Howard has had great activity tonight.
Then came the spark no one expected. Michaela Timpson, who had seen limited minutes all season, delivered 9 points in just 9 minutes of action. With the rotation stretched thin, she checked in and instantly shifted the energy, attacking the rim, finishing tough plays, and showing the kind of confidence you don't often see from someone in her role during a playoff battle. Those 9 points weren't just numbers on the stat sheet, they were a surge of momentum in a critical stretch, proof that Indiana's depth still has hidden weapons ready to step forward.
Boston bottled up, but found Timpson. Another good pass from Boston. Great passing out of double.
Pam, before the game, you asked Steph White, how are you doing this? She looked at you and said the core group has been resilient and flexible. We saw that towards the end of the quarter, and they continue to start
The loudest roar of the night, that belonged to Lexi Hull. As the third quarter ticked down, she rose up and buried a buzzer-beating 3 that sent Gainbridge Fieldhouse into absolute chaos. The eruption that followed said it all. Fans had waited years to feel a moment like that on their home floor. Hull's shot wasn't just about padding the lead, it was a statement. This night belonged to Indiana.
The screen. Back to Boston. Mismatch against Aaliyah Gray, and she buried it. Biggest lead of the night, and it's taken away by who else? Mitchell. Lexi Hall buried it to beat the buzzer. The flourish at the end of the third quarter for Indiana in a game they have to win, and they're up 15.
Every player had their moment in this game. Together they showed that resilience isn't just a catchphrase, it's the identity of this team. And while the offense gave fans plenty of highlights, the real difference maker was defense. Indiana suffocated Atlanta until the Dream had nowhere left to turn, sealing a 77-60 win and forcing a decisive game 3 back in Atlanta. Aaliyah Boston wasn't just putting points on the board in game 2, she was controlling the entire rhythm of the floor. With Caitlin Clark unavailable to orchestrate, Boston became the anchor Indiana leaned on. She stood tall in the paint, dictated decisions, and set the tone on both ends of the court. She didn't just fill her role, she expanded it, proving she can lead with emotion as powerfully as she does. With her footwork in the post, and that dual presence made the Fever even more dangerous, because no matter how Atlanta tried to adjust, they ran straight into her.
Mia Coffey in for her. She's got to take advantage of those opportunities as the defense is reacting to Bree Jones, and Aaliyah Boston is taking a little bit.
Now think about the challenge Aaliyah Boston faced. Atlanta's front court is one of the most physical in the league, and in game 1, she had her hands full with Brianna Jones. That matchup caused Indiana real problems, but in game 2, Boston flipped the script. She pushed Jones out of her comfort zones, held her ground on the block, and made her presence felt on every possession. The impact was obvious. Atlanta could no longer funnel their offense through the paint, and once that outlet was shut down, the rest of the Dream's attack looked forced and out of rhythm.
What stood out to you about able to get going? It looked like there were some turnovers elsewhere, and so you kind of put it into your own hands and had that nice run before some foul calls.
Yeah, I think for me, just continue to be assertive, just reading the defense, trying to get good possessions going. If I just get the ball, feel it out, see where the ball needs to go next, whether that's shoot it or pass it, I mean, I'm just kind of just taking what the defense is giving me.
It wasn't just about shutting down one player. Aaliyah Boston understood that every time she caught the ball inside, Atlanta had no choice but to send extra defenders. And instead of letting that slow her down, she turned it into a weapon, swinging the ball, finding cutters, and creating clean looks for Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull to capitalize on. That's the growth people talk about with Boston. Earlier in her career, double teams could take her out of rhythm. Now she uses them against her opponents. And that's exactly why the debate about whether Indiana has the interior presence to handle players like Brittany Griner isn't nearly as loud anymore. Boston keeps proving she is the answer in those battles.
That sequence there at the end of the third quarter, just speak to the importance of that, and that kind of feel like sort of like the backbreaker for Atlanta, so to speak, when you
Yeah, that was great for us. That seriously was scoring the ball and then getting that tip and then Lexi hitting that 3. I mean, the energy, everyone felt it, the crowd was going crazy, and we just used that momentum into the fourth.
All that poise she showed on the court made her post-game words land even stronger. When asked what sparked Indiana, Aaliyah Boston didn't hold back. She praised the defense as a masterclass and admitted the locker room was electric, overflowing with belief in what they had built together. She talked about the team being completely locked in, and the way she said it carried more than just confidence from one win. It carried the conviction of a group that finally knows exactly what they're capable of. That emotion was raw, it was real, and you could feel how it spread to everyone around her.
Speak to the emotions of a win like this. Kelsey already kind of touched on it, but what's the vibe like in the locker room after you get a dominating win?
Yeah, I mean, everyone was happy. The vibes were really great. I think, just like Kel said, this was super big for us. Our backs were definitely against the wall in this, and we know that we've just been through so much this season that coming out with this win and then giving ourselves another chance in Game 3, emotions are high.
Even Caitlin Clark couldn't stay quiet after that moment. She shared her own emotional post about Lexi Hull's clutch 3, a gesture that mirrored the unity this team has built. It wasn't just the players on the court celebrating. Even those sidelined felt every bit as connected to the win. That kind of spirit is what makes Indiana so dangerous. Now, the real question is whether that same discipline and togetherness can survive the pressure of Game 3 on the road. With the series tied and the momentum shifting, everything comes down to one night in Atlanta. For the Fever, the challenge is clear. Take the dominance they showed in Game 2 and replicate it inside the Dreams building, a place where visiting teams almost never escape with a win when elimination is on the line. The Gateway Center Arena will be deafening, Atlanta will be desperate, but this is the kind of storm Indiana has been preparing to face all season long.
Steph holding them to 60 points today. What did you see that was so effective from you guys defensively and really turned this game?
I mean, our aggressiveness, our attention to detail, our ability to contest without fouling, to be disciplined, in that area, I thought was huge. We played good enough defense down there, and our offense just couldn't get going, and we were able to get it going on both sides tonight. I continue to just be so proud of this group and their resilience, their toughness, and their ability to respond.
Atlanta's struggles in Game 2 exposed everything they didn't want the world to see. Their shooting was shaky all night, hitting just 39.4% from the field, and their guards never settled in against Indiana's relentless defense. Knocking down only 5 threes on 9 attempts simply isn't enough in a playoff game where every bucket carries weight. When your offense gets sped up, spacing breaks down, and suddenly the whole system looks overly dependent on tempo. Indiana flipped that script by dictating the pace, and that kind of control is the recipe that usually travels no matter the arena. The Fever don't have to reinvent themselves on the road because their core pieces translate anywhere. Kelsey Mitchell remains a scoring threat who doesn't need Caitlin Clark on the floor to create her own looks. Aaliyah Boston continues to command the paint, drawing extra defenders and opening lanes for everyone else. Natasha Howard brings the grit, fighting for every rebound and possession that shifts momentum. And then there's the X factor, rookie guard Maddie Siegrist. Correction if needed, based on your note, but I'll hold that spot for you. The spark plug who poured in 9 points in just 9 minutes. Performances like that don't happen by chance. The question hanging over Game 3 is simple. Can a rookie walk into a hostile building and ignite the same fire all over again?
Kelsey, going into a do-or-die Game 3, what excites you about that opportunity as a competitor?
I think it would be a really good challenge for us. I think, obviously we want to win a game and they want to win a game, so I think somebody has to lose and somebody has to win, obviously. But I think that we take tonight for what it is and start mentally preparing once it hit 12 o'clock and being able to go into what's important for Thursday. And so, like I said, it's a big opportunity tonight, but you gotta let it be the moment and let it kind of fuel you for Thursday, but you gotta move on.
Mentally, the momentum might belong to Indiana. The pressure has flipped. Atlanta enters Game 3 as the favorite on their home floor, but they're the ones trying to recover after having their entire strategy broken apart. The Fever, on the other hand, just erased nearly a decade of playoff disappointment in one night, and they did it without their biggest star. That kind of belief is contagious, and belief can silence a hostile crowd just as quickly as an early scoring run. Of course, Atlanta won't sit back. Expect them to speed up the pace, move the ball more decisively, and attack before Indiana can lock in defensively. They understand the urgency of this game, but Indiana has been hardened by adversity all season long. They've weathered injuries, pushed back against doubt, and now stand unfazed in a win-or-go-home moment. Whatever happens in Atlanta, one thing feels certain. This Fever team has already redefined who they are.
Steph, for Game 3, how much does a win like this give you guys confidence that you can close out the series in a tough situation on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. We've been in in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different. Obviously, it's going to be on the opponent's home floor, but it doesn't matter. I think for us, our if we maintain our attention to detail, if we continue the defensive effort that we had tonight, and we shoot with confidence, we give ourselves a chance. And this group is continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
This victory was bigger than the final score. It reminded everyone what Indiana basketball stands for: toughness, togetherness, and fight. After nearly 10 years without a playoff win, the Fever finally reclaimed their identity with a commanding 77-60 statement that erased the doubts and reignited belief in their future. Now the spotlight shifts to Atlanta. With the series tied, Game 3 isn't just another elimination matchup. It's an opportunity to rewrite the franchise's story and prove they're ready to stand with the league's elite once again. Indiana quieted the officials, shut down the critics, and showed the world they're not backing down. If you're riding with the Fever, drop a "Let's Go Fever" in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Tap the video on your screen, and we'll see you in the next one.